Okay. English section for St. Olaves Mock 2. If we look at this, it's basically a diary entry. So what's happening is she's writing about a dream that she had. She finds herself in the ancient forest. It looks like there's a maze of trees. There's an emerald door, and the door is a portal. Then she steps through and she goes to a city that breaks all the rules of architecture, and she sees like these interesting buildings, I assume. The sky is in lots of different colours. Winged creatures of fire are soaring through the sky, and then when she wakes up, she feels uneasy. It pretty much ends there. So, question 1, what is the main setting of the beginning of the narrator's journey? So it's an ancient forest, so if you look up here, edge of an ancient forest, yeah? Question 2, in the second paragraph, the trees are compared to twisted sages from magical realm. What literary device is being used here? So we have to look at the context here. If we look here, the trees crooked and reaching towards the sky like twisted sages. So when you use like, that's a simile. So option B. Question 3, what does the emerald door symbolize? So what we have here, an ancient oak stands alone, roots wrapped around an emerald door. And the door is a portal, radiated a magnetic pull that compelled him or her to open it. So what does it symbolize in the passage? Unlikely to be the narrator's fear, because we don't see anything scary in the passage. Not a barrier. If it's a door and it's opening to something, it's probably not a barrier. The end of the journey. The journey sort of continues, right? And a hidden treasure. Well, let's just check through. I don't think there's any mention of any form of treasure in the following passages, paragraphs. Nope. So, what does it symbolize? A pathway to another realm, which is exactly sort of what it does. It takes it to somewhere else, right? Question 4, how does the narrator feel when encountering the beings in the cityscape? So what is the beings? What are the beings? I think we went over it. There was winged creatures of fire soaring through the colourful sky, while watery beings, like living poetry, flowed like thinking rivers through the streets. Each encounter left me balancing between awe and fear. So you can see right here, here is the emotion that she felt, awe and fear. So awe, that means you're sort of, we've actually got it right here, which is perfect. Balance between awe and fear. Option C. Question 5, in the phrase, the ground beneath my feet, like a living carpet, pulsed with a heavenly energy. Which word best replaces pulsed? So, without changing the meaning. Okay, so what does pulsed mean? Sort of like, if you think about your heartbeat or your pulse, it's like this pattern where it's like glowing on and off, right? So your heartbeat, it's going boom, 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 you know? That's a pulse. So, stopped isn't it? Shook, glowed is close, and softened is definitely not it. I can see why you might say glowed, but I think what we've got most likely, similar to pulsed, the idea that something is going on and off, right? I think throbbed is going to be the best option there, which is option B. Alright, question 7. What is the tone of the passage? So what we have here, so we're on question 6, right? Humorous, it's not much humor. Nostalgia, it's not thinking about the past, so it wouldn't be nostalgic. You got mysterious, critical, or informative. Now, it's not critical or informative again, because critical would be criticizing something, informative would be giving you information. It's more mysterious, you don't really know what's going on, so option C is the best option there. Question 7. Which statement best describes the narrator's realization upon awakening? So what we have here, when the narrator wakes up, she feels uneasy, and she wonders, is it fantasy or does it have a deeper meaning? And the realization slowly dawns that she hasn't been on Earth. She wasn't on Earth, right? So she's speechless, and comes back to her senses after an hour. So she doesn't believe it was a nightmare. And she doesn't decide to forget the dream. She doesn't say anything about telling others about the dream, and she doesn't feel that it was unimportant. She actually does say she thinks she wasn't on Earth, so she thinks that she's on another planet, right? Okay, question 8. What does the phrase ignorance is bliss and curiosity can be dangerous suggest about the narrator's attitude? So let's try and find that in the passage. There you go. Ignorance is bliss and curiosity can be dangerous. So she says that because she wants to explore it more, but for now she'll hold back. So ignorance can be bliss, so that would mean sort of staying ignorant and not exploring this further can be a good thing, because it can mean you're not in danger. And curiosity can be dangerous, because if you try and explore something and you're a bit too curious, you might get in danger. So what options have we got here for question 8? So the narrator prefers to stay unaware and remain happy. That's definitely an option. The narrator wants to learn more despite the risks. The narrator is eager to share knowledge. That wouldn't be anything to do with this. The narrator believes knowledge is always safe. She doesn't believe that at all. And feels indifferent about learning. No. So the phrase ignorance is bliss and curiosity can be dangerous. That does suggest she's holding back because she thinks perhaps it's safer to stay unaware and remain happy, which is what ignorance is bliss means. And yeah, that, at least for now. So I go with option B for that. Question 9. Which of the following best describes the theme of the passage? So, the excitement of travelling to new places, the conflict between reality and imagination, the importance of nature conservation, or the dangers of exploring alone. So option B is definitely the I option here. It's talking about reality and imagination. It's talking about the dream, how she's in a different world. You can see, joy of meeting new people, that isn't mentioned either. Okay, question 10. In the passage, the sky is described as a kaleidoscope of colours, shifting and blending in a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. So which literary device is used here? I don't see any alliteration here. No personification either, no simile, no irony either. So option D, imagery, is the best one here. You can see this is giving you a vivid image, right? Question 11, what can be inferred about the narrator's experience? It was a real event. It was a dream or a vision. It was a story told by someone else. It was a memory from childhood. It was a prediction of the future. It wasn't a childhood or a future prediction. It wasn't a story. Now, you've got a bit of contention between, is it something that actually happened or was it a dream or a vision? Now, you do say obviously she woke up feeling uneasy. So that suggested it was a dream. Now she doesn't think she was on Earth, so she does think perhaps it might have been some form of like realism to it. So I think, in my opinion, definitely doesn't. I don't think it's a real event that physically happened. No, but I think it's either a dream or some sort of vision that she thinks it is, right? Where she probably saw a different different world, right? Or if it was just a dream. So, question 12, what is the purpose of the narrator writing this entry in the diary? So she actually explains this at the start. She says it was a rare adventure. And that's why she believes it was best to write down what happened last night, because the surreal journey made her question reality. So it's not to entertain readers, because no one's actually reading her diary except for her. It's not to warn others about the dangers of it in the forest. It's to document a personal and profound experience. Option C. Alright, that's the end of the English section. So, onto the math section here. Question 13. Which of these fractions is the biggest? So first of all, you're going to have to add these. So this will give you 3 over 5. This one will be 6 over 5. And be 3 over 10. That is 7 over 5. So it's 5 over 4. So you can see with these ones, when you've got different denominators, you have to convert them to have the same denominator. So I'm going to choose, if you look at, we've got 5, 4 and 10. These are the denominators. So what is the lowest common multiple that we can use? It'll be 20. So I'm going to use 20 as the denominator, and I'm going to make equivalent fractions where they all equal 20. So how did I get from 4 to 20 here? I had to times by 5. So I'm going to times by 5 to the top as well. That'll give us 25. So that's this fraction. That's option E. For this one, I got from 5 to 20 by timesing it by 4. So if I times the top 7 by 4, that should give us 28. Now from 10 to 20, we just times by 2. So we times the 3 by 2, we get 6. And if we, for this one we have to times by 4. So if we times this one by 4, the 6 by 4, we get 24. And for this one, it will be times by 4 again as well, which is 3 times 4, which is 12. And now we've got our fractions here, which we can compare. So we've got 12 over 20 as the smallest, and 28 over 20 as the biggest. So this is option D right here. This is A, B, C, D, E, right? So option D is going to be our answer there. Question 14. Peter decides to sell chocolate bars at a local market. If he sells each one for 80p and his ingredients cost £50, what is the minimum number of bars he must sell to start making profit? So the ingredients cost £50 and he's selling each for 80p. We basically have to figure out how many times is 80p going to £50, or £50 is actually 5,000p, right? So you can do it like this, or you could have looked at 0.8 pounds into £50, right? But this is easier. So how many times is 80 going to 500? It will be 9. That'll give us 450. We subtract that, we get 50 down here, and we bring down the 0, we've got 500 again. So how many times does 8 go into that? 9 again, 450. Oh, sorry, my mistake. 9 times, should be more than that actually. It's not 9. It is 5, and it gives you 400. So 6 actually. Yeah, my mistake. So 6 should give you 480. So 8 times 6 is 480. That gives you 20 as a denominator. Bring the 0 down, it will give you 200. So how many times does 8 go into that? It will be 2 times, which will give you 160. And the remainder here is 40, right? So if he does 62, if he sells 62, he'll be 40p short, right? If he sells 63 bars, he'll be 40p in profit, right? So you can see here, what's the minimum number of bars for him to start making profit? It'll be 63. Question 15. The total running time for a film is 100 minutes. 3% of that time is taken up with the opening subtitles. So if you do 3% of 100, it's 3 minutes. Total of 25 minutes is filmed outdoors. 1/5 is shot inside a hospital. So 1/5 of 100 is 20. You divide 100 by 5. And 0.17 of the film is in a greenhouse. So 0.17, another way of saying that is 17%, right? So how do you figure out 17% of 100? What you can do is find out 10% first, which is 10, right? Then you have to find out 7% of 100. Actually, yeah, 17% of 100. The easiest way to figure it out is it's just 17, because anything percent of 100 is just going to be itself. So it's going to be 17 minutes, right? So 17 minutes is shot in a greenhouse. So now the remainder of the film is in the manor house. How much is in the manor house? So all we have to do here is add all of these up, and that should give us 45, 48, 50... 65 minutes. So that means there is a remainder of 35 minutes left, and it's asking how much of the film is shot inside the manor house. So like what fraction? So the fraction here is 35 minutes out of the 100, right? So that's very simple. Right here you can see 0.35. This is equal to it, right? So you don't even have to simplify it. You can see the only option that matches it is this. Now if you simplify this, you would get 7/20. But hopefully that makes sense. Okay, question 16. When a gas meter was read in 2010, showed this number of units. When it was read again, it showed this number. Gas is 7p for each unit. There is a fixed charge of $12.50 to be paid in addition to the bill. Also 10% of the total is added on for tax purposes. So work out the final cost of gas from October to January. So first we have to calculate how many units was added. So you can see 316, 5, and 3945. So we need the difference between those two. Right, so that should be 780. Now, what we have to figure out is we have to add times that by $12.50, because that's how much each unit costs. So that should give you... Oh, sorry, my mistake. No. $12.50 is the fixed charge. 7p is how much each unit costs. So you times it by 7. 7 times 780. That'll be 6,000p. Right? And if you convert that to pounds, it's just 54.60 pounds. Now, it says you have to pay an extra of... Sorry, dollars. This is in dollars. You have to pay an extra of $12.50, right? So if we add that, you should get $67.1. And then it says also a 10% of the total is added for tax purposes. So you have to add 10% to this total. So 10% of this is just 6.71, because all you have to do 10% is figure out, move the decimal point one point to the left. So now if I add that 6.71 back onto that total, our answer here will be 73.81. Now I have a feeling, oh, there we go. We've got it. So that's going to be our answer right there, option C. Question 6-17. So Gervine is buying paint and there are 3 sizes that you can choose from. What size is the best value for money? So how do you figure out value for money here? Well, what you have to do is look at the price per litre. So if £15 for 2 litres, then how much is 1 litre? It's going to be 7.5. What about £20 for 1 litre? For 3, sorry. That's just going to convert to 6.66 for 1 litre. And for this one, 25, again 25 over 4. So you can try and think about what number will go into this. This is a bit more difficult to sort of do in your head. So what you could do, instead of doing what I've just done there, is just use these fractions right here. So I just did this with 25 over 4, right? 20 over 3. And what you can do is just do equivalent fractions. So if I convert these to all have the same denominator, so let's use 12. This is times 3, so this one's going to be times 3, which is 75. This one is times 6, so if we do 15 times 6, gives 90. This one is times 4, so 20 times 4 is 80. Now, so this is our prices as fractions, right? Price per litre, right? Now, the best value for money is the one that's cheapest, or the smallest number. So that is this one, which is option B, 4 litre can. Okay, question 18. 5 people are selling cakes at market stalls. Anton sells 2 cakes for £1. Bella sells 5 cakes for £2. Christy sells 9 cakes for £4. Etc, etc. So work out which person gives the best value for money. Again, same idea here. £1 for 2 cakes. That means 1 cake is equal to 0.5 pounds. £2 for 5 cakes. And 1 cake is equal to 0.4, because what you're doing here is you do just 2 divided by 5. So you can do it like this. Sorry, not like that. 5 divided by 2, like this. And how you do this, long division, is you divide it, you put a 0 point here, because that allows you to put a 0 here, and you ask how many times is 2, go into 50, and it'll be 25 actually. So what you can do here is 5, 2 divided by 5. If you make that into bus stop method, that looks like this. Then how do you, 5 doesn't go into 2, so you have to do 0 point. And then you can add a 0 here, because you've got the decimal point up top. And what you can do from there is 5 goes into 20 4 times, right? So this is actually 0.4 pounds per cake. This one was 0.5. So already you know that Anton isn't the best value for money, because this guy is cheaper, Bella. Now for this one, we can do 4 divided by 9. So 9 into 40 is 6, so 36 right here. That gives you 4 down here. Again, you can add a 0 because you've got a decimal point here. And then you can see it's going to be the same thing, 6. If you just keep going, it will just be 666. So what we've got here is 0.666 is pounds per cake. So Christie is also more expensive than Bella. Now, if we do this one, 5 divided by 11, to find out the price per cake for this guy, for Dennis, it's going to be 0 point. Again, you can add a 0 here because you've got point. 11 goes into that 4 times, so you've got 44 here, 6, and then you go. 11 goes into that 5 times. Now again, there's no point carrying this on because you've got 0.45. So again, the price per cake is higher than Bella's. So let's check out Ed. Let's see if Ed is any cheaper than Bella. So this is going to be 21 divided by, 10 divided by 21. So 0 point. So 21 goes into 100. It should be 4 times. That will give us 84. So if we subtract that, give us 16. And now how many times is 21 going to 160? So I think it will be 6 times, 7 times. So that will give us 147. So now again, you can see here, 0.47 is the price per cake for Ed. So Ed is also not as cheap as Bella. Bella was the cheapest, so option D is going to be our answer right here. Question 19. Of the following numbers were written in order from highest to lowest, which number would be in the middle? So as we know, 100% is equal to 1.0. So this will be 0.33. This one is 0.25. This one is 0.333 as well, 1/3, and this one is 0.3. So how do you do that? Well, if you look at 3 over 10, right, that's just 30 over 100, and if you convert that to a decimal, that's 0.3, or 30%, right? Yeah. So which one is the smallest, or which one would be in the middle? Well, 0.25 in order from highest to lowest. So the highest is this one and this one. So these would be 2, the first two, Actually, no, 0.35 is the highest. So what would happen is 0.35 would be first, then it would be like 33%, and then it would be actually 1/3 is bigger, because 1/3 is 0.3333 recurring. 33% is just 0.33. So that's going to be in the middle. Because the last two will be 0.3 or 3/10, and this one will be 0.25. So the one in the middle is 33%, which is option E. Okay, question 20. There are 4 prime numbers between 10 and 20. P adds together 2 of these prime numbers to get a square number. What square number does he get? So, prime numbers between 10 and 20 is 11, 13, 17, and 19. So, if you add 2 of these together, you should get a square number, apparently. So, if you add, maybe... I'm trying to think, what square numbers have we got? So, we got 25, 36. Okay, yeah, so if you add 19 and 17, you get 36. So it'll be this one. Question 21. Which of these numbers is not a multiple of 3? So, for some reason I remember doing this. I think this might have been in your homework. So hopefully you get this. Well, what you have to do here, the easiest way to figure out if something is a multiple of 3 is you add them all together. So you do 5 plus 6, add the digits together. So if you add all of these together, to get 35. And 35 isn't a multiple of 3, so this one should not be a multiple of 3. If you add these two together, you get 3. If you add these two together, you get 7. Sorry, not 7. You get 9, which is a multiple of 3. If you add these together, you get 18, which is a multiple of 3. And if you add 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, you get 30, which is also a multiple of 3, right? So all of these are multiples of 3, because what you have to do is you have to add up the digits, and if that's a multiple of 3, then the whole number is a multiple of 3, right? That's the trick. This one isn't. So where is our option? Option A. Okay, question 22. Add together all the factors of 24. So if we do factors of 24, 1 and 24, you got 2 and 12, you got 6 and 4, and I believe that is actually you got 8 and 3. And that's all. So if you add all of these together, you get 60, which is option C. Right, what number between 400 and 500 divides exactly by 2, 3, and 11? So this is a tough one, but what you can do for this, if you want to find something that all 3 numbers go into, first find the lowest common multiple between them. So, lowest common multiple is going to be if you find the prime factors of each number and you multiply them together, you'll get the lowest common multiple. So you should know this from what we were learning in the homeworks. Now, these are already prime numbers, so you don't have to do anything. You just times them together. And our lowest common multiple is 66. Okay? Now, all we have to do is it says a number between 500 and 400, right? So if we figure out, for example, how many times does this, like, let's say, basically what's happening here, if I'm able to explain it, is every 66 numbers, you get a number where all of these have the same, all of these are in the times table, right? So every 66 numbers. So basically you can, if you count up from 66, like 132, this is also going to be, these are all going to be multiples of it, right? So what we have to find is a number in the 66 times table that is between 400 and 500. So if we do 66 times 7, that's 66 times 6, that's 396, that's too small. If you do 66 times 7, that's going to be 462. So that's going to be in between 400 and 500, and because it's in the 66 times table, which is the lowest common multiple, it's going to be divisible by all three of these. So our answer here is going to be 462. Now, you could have worked that out by sort of looking at your options. If you didn't know how to do that, I would have looked at the options and I would have just checked, is this divisible by 2? Is it divisible by 3? Is it divisible by 11? Right? And because it's A, you would have actually got it quite quickly as well. Okay, question 24. My age is a multiple of 7. Next year it will be a multiple of 5. I am more than 20 but less than 80. How old am I? Okay, so if we look at the 7 times table, right? So this is where it overlaps with 5 times table. So what's probably going to happen is next year he's going to turn 35. And that means this year he is 34. Oh, sorry, no, actually. Yeah, so you have to read that carefully. So currently he is a multiple of 7. And next year he'll be a multiple of 5. So that means it has to be further along. So if he's currently a multiple of 7, let's keep going in the 7 times table. There we go, 49. So if he's 49 now and 50 next year, 50 is in the 5 times table, so that works, and 49 is in the 7 times table. So you'll be 49, option B. Question 27. In a children's game, you call out all the numbers from 1 to 100. You clap every time you say either multiple of 3 or a number ending in 3. How many times would you clap? So how many multiples of 3 are there between 1 and 100? Well, I'm not sure if there's a way to count this, but if you look at 3, 6, 9, right, and you got 12, 15, 18. So between each, like 1 and 10, there's 3 of them. Between 10 and 20, there's 3 of them, right? So it's going to be like that. So if you do 3, there are 11 intervals, so it's going to be 33 of these. Because if you do 20 and 30, etc., and you keep going, and you get to 90 and 100, that's 11 separate intervals that you've got here, right? And each of them have 3 digits in them. So you could just count this manually if you have the time, but it is 33 total multiples of 3 that there are. Now, numbers ending in 3, so that's going to be 3. And then when you get into the 10s, you're going to have 13, 23, 33, 43, 53, 63, 73, 83, 93, and you're also, yeah, no, that's it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like my pen ran out of battery. 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10 numbers that end in 3, and 33 numbers that are multiples of 3. Now, you would say that's 49. Sorry, you would say that's 43, but it isn't actually 43 because there are some of these overlap, right? So some of these are multiples of 3. So if you look at 33, this is a multiple of 3. So that's already been counted in our other option. 3 has also been counted already. So if you rub that out, which else is counted? 63 is a multiple of 3, and 93 is a multiple of 3. So 4 of these have already been counted. So it's actually, if we minus 3, so if you minus 4 from 43, it's 39 total times that you would clap. You don't clap twice for 33, for example, just because it ends in a 3 and is also a multiple of 3. So our answer there is option C. Okay, question 28 for verbal reasoning. Which word here is the odd one out? So, we've got them, he, who, her, and our. Now we've got 2 of them seem to be plural. Three of them, yeah, 2 of them are plural. These 2 are proper nouns and who. Okay, so realistically, the best option here. So them, he, her, and our. These are all pronouns, right? So they're describing a person or a group of people. Now, who is different from that, and it would therefore be the odd one out, particularly because it is not describing a group of people or a person. It's not a pronoun. Okay, question 29. The impossibility of the situation caused much laughter amongst those gathered. Which word in the above sentence is a pronoun? So, those, so it's referring to a group of people, that is the pronoun. Question 30. Think carefully about the pronunciation of each word in bold, and then choose the odd one out. So wind, wound, answer, refund. So, if you think about the pronunciation, you got wind, wound, answer, refund. Which one is going to be the odd one out here? So now this is a very difficult one. Wind, wound, refund. So answer, this is the only one where we've got a silent letter. So answer, you've got a silent W there. So option C is going to be the correct option here, which has got a silent letter, which is the silent W. Question 31. we've got here is 3 repeated 5s for this code, meaning we have 2 of them start with the 5 and the last one ends with the 5. So 5 is probably going to be equal to B, right? So this is going to be T, and then this is going to be beta, and this one's going to be B, or something like that, right? But if we figure out from here, we know 3 is equal to E, so 5 is equal to B, 3 is equal to E. So 5, 3, okay, and then which one is T? 6 is T, so beta is going to be this one, because you got 6 here, and then this one's going to be B. Now, it's asking us for the word bait, right? So we know B is 5, A is 2, according to here, T is 6, and E is 3. So 5, 2, 6, 3, which is option D. Question 32, identify the missing letters in the series. So you got Z, A, something, Y, C, D, so X. So what I can see here is it's counting backwards, Z, Y, X. Probably after the 2 it'll be what's after X before X, sorry, W. And what it's doing here is it's going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, right? So you can see it's going up the alphabet on these 2, every other, and then it's going descending the alphabet on this other sequence. So you can see it's 2 different sequences, right? Hopefully you can see that. So this is going to be B, we've got E, F, and then W, which is option C. Okay, question 33. Arrange the odd-numbered months of the year into the ascending order of the number of vowels in each word. So which 2 months have the most number of vowels when added together? Okay, so if we count, we can just look directly at the options for this one. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this has got 6 vowels in total, right? And the other ones, you got 1, 2, 3. That's 4. 2. That's going to be 4. And this one's going to be 4. So this is option C, most number of vowels. Question 34, discounting the letters M-O-N, which 2 letters occur most frequently in the names of the months of the year? So we're going to have to write these out, to be honest. July, August, September, October, November. So you can already see this is actually quite obvious that E is definitely going to be one of them. If we count up the number of E's we've got here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you got 10 there. I'm not sure if I'm missing any of these. So June, September has 3. November has 2. October has 1. December has 3. So you got 3 here, 2 here, 1 here, 3 here. 1 here, and then 1 here. So that's 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 2, 3, 6, 8. Hold on, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 11 total, I think. I might be missing one, but it's either 11 or 12 total E's that we've got here. And next I can see we've got 1, 2, 3 R's, 4, 5. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9. You've got 9 R's. Right? The only other thing that I think could match is A's, so let's double check how many A's there are. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's it. There's only 6 A's, so it's clear that E and R are most repeated in these months' names. Okay, question 35. Let's rough all of this out. Arrange the names of the digits 0 to 5 in order. How many adjacent pairs of names are in ascending order of length? So in ascending order of length, they mean like, let's say 1 is 3 letters, and 2 is 3 letters. So if this was 4 letters, that would be ascending order of length, right? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 0 as well. So you can see these are not ascending. The only one that's ascending is this pair right here. This is 3 letters and this is 4 letters. So fewer than 2 pairs is going to be the right option here. It is 1 pair, so it's not going to be none, but it's going to be option C. Okay. Question 37. So arrange the following numbers in ascending order, a number of consecutive double letters. So you've got 1, 2, 3. There's 3 consecutive double letters. That means that double letters that are next to each other. So here we've got 1. Actually, this is only, so this is not consecutive, but you've got here 2 consecutive double letters. And with this one, you've got 2. So it says if they're in the same number, and keep them in the same order. So it's going to be bookkeeper, Tennessee, committee. It's going to stay in the same order, actually, option A. Alright, question 37. In the following sentence, you want an anagram, and you have to solve it, basically. So this sentence to make sense. So what is this word going to be? That means you have to rearrange the letters, basically, to make it make sense. So the largest planet in the solar system is, so you should know that this is Jupiter. So if we just rearrange it, this is what it will be spelt like, and the word starts with the letter J, so option A. Alright, NVR now. We're advised to spend 15 minutes on this section as well. So, analogy. This is analogy, so you can see it's showing you something that changed from the left option to the right option, and you're going to apply that same thing from left to right on this as well. So, what you can see first happens is the big shape, the L shape, is rotated 90 degrees, and then it's turned black. So 90 degrees clockwise. So if you rotate this 90 degrees clockwise, we should be pointing to the left, and we should have a black shape, so it should be any of these. Now what else changes is these two options, of these two shapes, they are reflected down and they're turned white. So if we reflect this out, we should have a lightning that is pointing outwards, and it should be white. So now you can see this is in the wrong position, right? And the lightning, it should be pointing away. So you can see it's pointing towards the point. If you reflect it, it should be pointing away from the point. So we should have option D as our answer. Question 39. The only thing that happens here is it is rotated 45 degrees. And if we look at all of the options, the only ones that are rotated like that is A, C, or E. Now, what's the difference between this? A has got the wrong star, so it can't be that. And E has got the wrong shape down here, so it can't be that. So it's going to be option C. So, question 40. I'm going to go over this, but for 2024 students, your paper will have a mistake in it. This smiley face right here, it should actually be like this. So if you imagine that that's what it looks like, then I'll go through the explanation for this question. If you're taking the exam anytime after 2024, it should be corrected to this. So what's happening here is, first of all, the arrow is pointing the opposite direction, right? So if you point this arrow in the opposite direction, you can't have option C or D, so it isn't either of those. Now, the next thing that changes from left to right is the shape here is swapped with the 3 shapes on the other side. So you can imagine this shape here is going to be swapped with the 3 shapes on the other side. Now, if you do that, all of these match. You've got the smiley face on the right side and the 3 shapes on the left side. Now, one other thing that changes is this arrow is pointing down. It is rotated 90 degrees anti-clockwise and is now pointing to the right. So if you imagine what's going to happen to the smiley face, it should be, first of all, the smile is pointing down. It's going to be rotated 90 degrees anti-clockwise, and then it should look like this, right? Not like the one in the option. So if you got the fixed paper, it will look like this, and your answer will be option A. If you took the exam in 2024, you will just get a free mark for this question. Okay, question 41 now. What is changing? This shape right here is rotating 90 degrees clockwise. So if we think about the leftmost shape, if that is rotated 90 degrees clockwise, we should have something like this. However, I think we want to double check here. So what else changes from here is this shape is just reflected. I'd say that's the best way to explain it. I think it is. Yeah, this shape is reflected across this line. So what we should get, it depends which shape we're going to reflect. Now, the reason why I don't think it can be B, I was showing you that this is rotated, is because if we reflect this, we shouldn't get something like this. So I think the rule here actually is that the shape with the arrow will get reflected, right? So this is the shape with the arrows. Although this has an arrow, it's not like an actual like straight line arrow, right? So this shape is going to be reflected across this line, okay? So if you imagine what it will look like, it will look something like this if you reflect it across that line. So you've got 3 of these options that are like this, so we can cancel out options A and B, okay? And then the other shape is going to be rotated 90 degrees clockwise, similar to what happened to this one, okay? And which shape is done that? Well, all of these are rotated at 90 degrees clockwise. You can see at least all of them are pointing down, but which one is actually kept the same patterns? So you can see the lines should be straight, they should be pointing out, right? This is horizontal, so it shouldn't be that, not option A. Sorry. And what else? If we look at the lines and the stars, they should be diagonal. So if we're looking at the difference between C and D, it's actually very, very minor. The only difference here is the lines. So you can see this one only has 2 lines, and this one has 3 lines. How many lines does the original have? 3 lines, right? So option D is going to be our answer over here. Right, let's move on to question 42. So in this one, we have the rectangle, actually the entire shape seems to be reflected across this line, across a horizontal line, right? How can you tell it's a reflection? Well, if you try and reflect this, you look at this rectangle, would be reflected up there. This one would be in this position, and then you can see that's matching, right? So you know it's a reflection and not a rotation, okay? So if we reflect shape here, we would get something like this, where the cross is still on the left side because it's a reflection and not a rotation. This is not a cross, so it can't be D, and you're left with either B, C, or E. Now, what else is changing in the analogy here? Well, all the white shapes, or let's say the middle shape, right? The middle shape is turned black. So this cross should turn black, okay? The bottom shape is turned into white, so this shape, I assume, should be, actually, I would say white. Sorry, this one. Oh no, my mistake. I was looking at, so here it is. This shape should turn into white, meaning it should either be C or E, right? What else happens? Well, the side shape is turned white. Okay, so you can see that. This one is turned white, meaning this shape should be white, like this. Finally, the shape up here is turned into lined. It's turned lined, okay. So that means this shape right here should become lined. Now the only option we've got here that's got that is option B, so it can't be that. The only thing I can assume this to this. What's probably happening instead of it being like a shape to shape thing is, I guess, they're all swapping. So these two swap, and then these two swap colors. So I think that's what's happening. Right, so this is black, this is white, this is striped, this is white. Okay, I think that's what's happening. So what would probably be the case is this should be dotted, and this should be white, and this should be black, and this should be white. Okay. So which one is it dotted? It's this one, option E. Right, so you got these two swapped shadings and these two swapped shadings, okay? So option E is going to be our answer here. Alright, question 43. This is just reflected across a horizontal axis. If you reflect this, first of all, the arrow should be pointing up, okay? So, it can only be any of these options because they've got the circle and the arrow in the right positions. The heart should be facing away. It can't be option D. This pattern, so this has got the wrong pattern here. And this arrow should be moving to the right, you know? Should go left like that. So it can only be B. This has got the wrong facing arrow, okay? Question 44 now. It looks like this shape is put into the middle, right? So this plus this should be put into the middle. Sorry, not I had it the wrong way. It should be the outside shape, and the top shape gets put into the middle. So it should be something like this, right? You can see the circle is turned white, so this triangle should be white, so it can't be option B. Now, what else happens? Well, this five-sided shape comes to the outside, and it goes from a five-sided shape to a six-sided shape. So, oh, my mistake. It's this hexagon, basically. It comes to the outside, right? Six-sided shape becomes the outside. So we should have a four-sided shape on the outside, not a triangle. So it should be option A. Okay. This shape seems to go inside. So this shape should be inside. Looks like all the options match that. But I mean, I'm not sure about this one. It looks like it's covered, but we'll ignore that for now. The only other change is if you look at this pattern on the inside shape, right? It's sort of moved a bit. It's not the exact same. It's still the brick pattern, but it's different, okay? So realistically, we should still have the same dotted pattern. It shouldn't be thicker like in A, so I don't think it's A. And C has got the wrong circle there. And this is D has got the wrong colored shape, right? So realistically, it should be I think these are both fine. Now the only difference between B and E, and the only reason it's E is because I guess the shape has to be on the inside, and this isn't fully inside the square, right? So we're going to have option E as our answer for this one. Let's move on to question 46 now. This shape seems to move outwards to the right and become independent, so it's its own shape. But to be fair, yeah, I mean, what we've got here is this shape, and we've also got this rectangle right here. So it looks like this one just moves a bit to the right, and then the tip becomes white. And secondarily, this shape has a line down the middle, okay? So what I would assume would happen to this, this is our test shape right here. Again, it should move a bit to the right. It should turn white. The tip should turn white. And this one should have a line down the middle, okay? So you can see we've sort of got that right here. Option B has got the tip on the wrong direction. Now actually, let's not cross out just yet, because we don't know if this circle was flipped. Perhaps it was, we just can't tell, right? Because we can't tell with an oval. So it could have been B. All of these seem to match, apart from this has got the horizontal lines, which is wrong. Okay, secondary, the next rule that seems to happen is the shape on the arrow, sorry, is just reflected across this line. So you can see the arrow is reflected. So we should have something that is like this, okay? Now, cannot be option D because of that. Option A has got the wrong pattern, so it can't be that. So realistically, I mean, these final two options, they are the exact same. apart from the heart being flipped. Now, you would get the mark in this exam if the oval, because we can't tell if the oval has been flipped or not, you would get the mark if you said B. I'm gonna put the mark as C because that's more obvious. But what will happen probably if you're taking this exam again next year is you'll change this option so it's a bit less ambiguous and you only have one correct answer. So for general purposes, C is the correct answer. But B would have been correct. So we're going to change that option. Okay, question 47 now. All that seems to happen here is this shape is flected and then it's overlapped. So it can't be A because it's the wrong way. This has got the wrong star up here, and this has got the wrong shape down here. So if you overlap it, it would be like this, okay? So you can see this is the wrong way. So it wouldn't be option B, it would be option D. Question 48. Circle, the outside shape, turns black. So this should turn black. So it can't be either of these two. And the square, four-sided shape is turned into a six-sided shape, hexagon. So what we can assume is it's going to go from a three-sided shape to a five-sided shape. Or actually, realistically, so the outside circle is turned black. So this square should turn black. And then the inside shape, you can see gets two corners added. So if you see this square, it becomes a hexagon because you got two new corners added. So if you imagine again with this one, you're getting two corners added to a pentagon. So again, it went from four sides to six sides, right? Hopefully that makes sense. And this one went from three sides, it's going to go to five sides. And this has not got the things pointing the right direction, right? So it's going to be option C here. And you can see again, the reason why it's not the one that is rotated is because you're adding corners. You're sort of adding corners to the exact same shape. So although the hexagon doesn't look exactly the same as this, the idea behind it is that you're adding corners. So option C is going to be the answer here. Question 49. What happens here is you've got the square. And this closes, right? So it shouldn't be D because you can see the line is dashed for some reason. Once it closes, the left shape becomes this outside shape and the right shape goes inside. So we should have a four-sided star inside like this one. So it can't be either C or A, meaning it's option B. Again, the outside shape should be dashed. The inside shape should be. So question 50 is also going to be a free mark. This question, I believe, is broken, so it will be replaced for next year. I'm going to show you the question that it will be replaced with. So this is what the actual question will look like if you're taking this exam next year, 2025 onwards. So you can see here, we have got a bunch of different colors. So what's happening here is all of the black shaped boxes turn gray and all of the gray shaped boxes turn black, okay? So we should have these four shapes black, meaning it can only be option D or E because they've got the right black shapes. And you can also see that the gray shape, right? So the black shape, sorry, we've got 1, 2, 3. This one has got 3 black shapes. This one's also got 3 black shapes. Now, I think that square is a bit of a mistake. So just assume that these are all grey shapes. Sorry, my mistake. These all got grey shapes. So the first rule is fine on both D and E. Okay. Next up, what we have is from the change the horizontal lined shapes are changed to vertical, and the vertical ones are changed to horizontal, right? If we look at these, they should both change to horizontal. So we should have something like this for both of them. And there we go. Option E is the answer because this one is not, doesn't have the correct shape lighting. So that is what the question will look like if you're taking the exam after we fixed that paper. If we just go back to the paper that was at hand. So if you took this exam and it looked like this, you will be getting a free mark for this. So don't worry about that. Let's move on. So for question 51, we get this shape gets reflected horizontally. Or I'd say it's reflected across its tips. So what will happen to here is we're going to reflect it across here, basically, across this line. Okay, so you get that reflection, right? So you get a shape like this, and then you overlap them, right? And the amount of overlap depends on basically how big the shape is. So you can see you're keeping that sort of line. I'm trying to figure out a way to explain this, but basically you overlap them so you can see these are the same distance apart from the center, right? So the center that you choose to overlap them from, it will be around here, and you make sure that it's the same, and that way you've got this symmetrical sort of thing going on, right? And symmetry isn't the main thing that's going on, it's basically the length. So you can see, again, sort of like I've drawn these lines to try and make it like that, right? So what we should have here is a reflection that looks a bit like this, right? And obviously this shape has to stay the same, so it can't be option A or C. Now this isn't overlapping, so it can't be option E. Now you'll have to be either option D or B now. So what we've got here, you have to figure out which one has got the right amount of overlapping. I believe it is D, because if you look at the, again, you can look at like the distances that you've got. So you think about this, right? This is the gap inside of the shape. It's cut in half when you add this overlapping shape. So what's happening here with this gap is, you can see this gap. Again, it's made much smaller. It's cut in half. So if you look at it, it's like that. So this is too big, right? That gap is too big. So what we've got here is the overlapping amount should be option D. The answer here is going to be option D. All right, question 52. We have looks like the arrow is flipped across a a vertical plane. So that means the arrow should be pointing that way, which is fine. Additionally, you get this triangle, this bottom shape, gets flipped as well. So I'll assume this bottom shape will go to the top, something like this, okay? So not option A. What else is changing here? You got these two lines, they're reflected across this sort of vertical plane again. So you can see they're first pointing that way, and now they're pointing this way, yeah? So if you think about these two, they are going to be, if you reflect them, they're going to look like this, okay? Oh, actually, oh no, we have to be careful with that, because you can see this and this, they swap, right? So this is going to be tough. Now it looks like it's not reflected because none of the options actually show a reflection, because a reflection would look like this, okay? None of them show that. That means it can't be that. So all of these seem to be rotated. Okay, they're rotated 90 degrees anti-clockwise, right? That's 90 degrees anti-clockwise, okay? Now this is tough because you would assume it would be D because it's the only one that's flipped it. So if we go with D, and now let's look at what else changes. You got the circle from the top, it goes to the bottom, okay? Meaning this smiley face should be at the bottom, which is fine. And what else have we got? So we've got these two shapes and also these two shapes. That's actually more shapes than we had in the original. Realistically, I think it comes down to, Oh no, this is related to that. Okay. So which one? Yeah, so this is we've already got that right. So it can't be C because you can see this arrow is facing the wrong way. We already know that this triangle or the bottom shape that I'm circling, the two bottom shapes have to be reflected, meaning it should look like either B, D, or E. Okay. Now, yeah, pretty much the final thing that's going on here. We know that the smiley face is somewhere at the bottom, right? That's completely fine. The final thing that's going on here is this sort of thing, right? We have to figure out which one it is. And if you look at this, they swapped places, right? This circle headed thing and this diamond headed thing, they swapped places, meaning this and this should swap places. But we have to describe what's changing. So if we make the description, this is a 90-degree anti-clockwise rotation, which is why it looks like this. You'd have a diamond here and a circle here. So that's 90 degrees anti-clockwise. And then they are flipped, okay? So what we've done here is we've rotated at 90 degrees anti-clockwise, and then if we swap them, make them swap places, then this bracket looking thing would be at the top and this line would be at the bottom. So that actually leaves us with option D being our answer. And if you think about why is the smiley face upside down, well, we have no proof. Maybe this was flipped, we just can't tell, okay? So option D is going to be the answer there.